Hey, ladies. All right, so it's not that dark, okay? Welcome. I see that some of you are in the chat already. Okay, so Angelie, hi. Nice of you to join us. I know it's really, really late over there in England, but I am going to try, lower that for a little bit. Just a second here. Let me adjust it. Okay. I am going to try to do a singles episode here, maybe next week, about single ladies and how to keep busy, what to do in your single years, different things like that. So I was only a single for about 2 years, but I was still single before I was married. So I'll kind of go over some of the things I did just to keep myself busy in those years, when you're out of high school, if you don't go to college, or if you've graduated college in between those years. So hopefully next week I'll be doing that one after I put it all together. So thanks. Okay, so I have only got about 8 or 9 weeks left of pregnancy, so it's winding down. I'm hitting 30, but I was actually diagnosed the last week with gestational diabetes. Remember, I was so happy that I didn't have it. But when I went to my midwife appointment, I've only had 4 since I've gotten pregnant. She measured me and the baby was measuring huge, so they wanted me to get tested again because I had failed one and then I passed the second. So I actually failed it worse this time. So back to counting carbs and all that good stuff. I have a horrible headache right now. It's day 3. I think it's from sugar withdrawal. So hopefully that headache will go away by tomorrow. Oh, sugar withdrawal is a real thing for sure. So thanks for joining. Hey, Mrs. P. Let me see who's all here. Rosa. I hope all of you got all your goodies that you won from the giveaway last week. I am 30 weeks, but I'm hoping, I usually have them around 38 to 39, and I don't think they'll let me go much longer than that since she's already measuring huge, and usually by that time I go into labor. So look, this will be the time I get to 40. I'll have a 10-pound baby. But we'll see what happens. So all right, so I want to jump into it. Now, if you guys have any comments throughout the thing, just go ahead and leave it. I want to hear your comments, your suggestions with how you, do things to make your children more independent as you're raising them. Maybe it's something that I don't have down, so I'd love to hear it. So I think this is an important thing to me. Since we started having kids, we tried to raise them to be independent. And just because I really think that, especially if you're going to have a lot of kids, if you're into having big families like a lot of us are, then it's imperative that you teach them to be independent, because you can't be everything for everyone at all times. Obviously you're always busy running here, running there, and you can't constantly be doing things for your children. So this show about raising independent kids is especially important for those with big families. You're going to run yourself ragged if you have to be everything for everyone. Teaching independence in kids starts really young. We've always had the philosophy that we wanted to raise strong, independent adults because they need to be that way if they're going to be strong Christians in the world that we live in. And if you've never raised kids, you know that that's true, because as they get older and older, especially in today's world, they start facing things that maybe some of us never faced. When I was being raised, I wasn't raised in the technology era, so I didn't have to face a lot of the online temptations that my children have to face. So you have to raise them in a way that they'll be independent enough to stand against that on their own, because I can't watch them all the time. They're going to eventually grow up and become an adult man, maybe be living on their own. Even if they're married, they have to learn restrictions and things to place on themselves when it comes to what they look at on the internet, what they look at on their phones, different things like that. So how do I find it a balance, hi Karen, to not raise your girls too independent and with the mentality that they don't need a man? What's the balance? Hi Narissa. I do think, I was raised to be independent as well. I think that's one of the reasons I am so independent. But my mom always raised me too with the belief that I was, going to be a wife and a mother someday. Hopefully that was, she said you didn't know if that was going to happen for sure, obviously, but that was always in my mind. So, and that's one of the things I'm going to talk about in the singles episode. So where I was raised that someday hopefully get married and have children, I was also raised to have skills as far as music skills, just knowing how to do things, knowing how to take care of myself, but then also raised with the mindset that, someday when I would get married, I would submit to that husband and love him and honor him and all that. So I think it is just finding the balance between raising your girls to be independent and have skills and work on that, but also with the mindset that, they want to do that under their husband's leadership someday. So, hi, Dawn. Let's see. Mrs. P, yes, I have tried erythritol. I've been using monk fruit, actually. I think it's like a mix of monk fruit and erythritol. But I definitely think my headache is from sugar withdrawal. So for sure. So teaching independence from the time that they're little. Once they start walking, or from the moment that they're born, actually, you're their teacher. And we see that with Kelly. Her brain is exploding right now. She's learning so much. It's so cute, the stuff that she's learning to do. In fact, when we went to Culver's last night, after church, she was sitting there and she was eating on my lap, and I was trying to feed her soup, and I was like, okay, let mommy do it. And she's like, I do it. And that was the first time she had ever spoken that sentence, I do it. And so it was just really cute that, it's cute seeing them learn things. And so from the time that she's young, and this helps that I have older kids too, we have taught her to start cleaning up a mess. When there's a mess, we'll tell her to clean it up. And so we start training them from the time that they're young. You're their teacher. You're teaching them their colors, and you're teaching them how to talk. I mean, think about it. In a year, a baby from a newborn goes to walking and talking, and I do it, and trying to do things on their own. It's crazy. So, that's cute, Angeli. Yeah, that is the best worst stage. It is cute. It was so cute when she said it, but then it was annoying the rest of the night because she was trying to eat soup. So she was getting soup everywhere, and she wanted to do it, and she kept saying that, I do it, I do it. So, but I would have her clean it up. You're training them from the time that they're young. You're training them to clean up after themselves and help out and things like that. So, even babies Callie's age can be taught to pick things up, help with what they can, come help mommy do this, come help mommy pick up your toys, different things like that. So they can be taught from the time that they're young. But I would have age appropriate chores for your kids. And I tried looking up, I had read something one time. If anyone can link to it, it would be really cool. But I had read one thing. It was like a early 1900s guide to what kids should be doing. And it was crazy what they had the kids should be doing with their age groups. But I found, and if anyone wants this, I can scan and maybe send it out to all my emails, the emails that I have on the list. But it's a really cool little chart. It says age appropriate chores for children. And this would even be great if you're a nanny or you're babysitting, for a large amount of time during the day. But there's just some things, and it's nice because there's a little checkbox. So, even if you go through and you make sure that all of your kids can do these things, that would be a good idea. So like ages 2 through 3, here's the list, put toys in toy box, stack books on a shelf, place dirty clothes in the laundry hamper, throw trash away, carry firewood, fold washcloths, set the table, fetch diapers and wipes, dust baseboards. And even Kelly at 1.5, we have her go get the wipes, go get the diapers. She'll go and get them and things like that. So age 4 through 5, feed pets, wipe up spills, put away toys, make the bed, straighten the bedroom, water houseplants, sort, clean silverware. Ages 4 and 5. That's pretty good. Prepare simple snacks. Use handheld vacuum. clear kitchen table, dry and put away dishes, and disinfect doorknobs. Another thing that we had, oh, well, thank you. Another thing that we had Lana do from the time that she was little is we had her spray down walls, like with I would usually do like a cleaner with essential oil or something. We'd have her spray down walls and wipe them off. So that's a really good thing that that they can do. What age should children stop breastfeeding? You know what? I'm glad you asked that, because I'm going to go into the whole, I didn't even deal with the baby thing. Okay, we don't, when it comes to babies, you know, let them be a baby. So don't be, you know, obviously by the time they're walking and they're getting more independent, you're teaching them things. But when it comes to having a baby, you don't want them to be, you know, it's okay for them to be co-sleeping. It's okay for them to be nursing on demand. It's okay for them to be worn by you. You know, don't push this, well, now that I popped you out, you have to be on your own, you know. And definitely take the first year or two to really cherish them and really be attached to them. So I wanted to specify that. As far as breastfeeding, that's just a personal preference. I went up to 15 or 16 months with Kelly. I can't remember. But I do know by the time I weaned her, I found out a week later I was pregnant. So I was kind of glad that I did. I have tried to nurse before while pregnant, and it didn't really go very well. So it just doesn't work for me. Some women are able to nurse while they're pregnant and it doesn't affect them. I noticed it caused a lot of cramping with me. So it wasn't really ideal for me, but some women are able to nurse fine and then tandem feed and all that. So what? No, Angela, I did not see that. She said, did you see the news article where a lady had potty trained her baby like 2 weeks old? How is that even possible? She just must have known its schedule. I have heard of elimination training where you do it before they're 2 or something. I know one of my friends, Angelica, has done it and it worked really well for her. And that was really cool when she told how she did it. And I say kudos to her. I don't think I could do it with all the kids that I have. It was her first, but she did really well doing elimination training, it's called. So yeah, elimination communication. Yep. So let me see. Yeah, exactly. That's why I said too, Jen. It's the mom's choice when it comes to breastfeeding. Don't let anyone shame you into stopping too early. Don't let anyone shame you into going more than you want. You know, it's kind of up to you and your choice. I would always have, whenever I would nurse past a year, which was the last 3 or 4 babies, I would always have a few people in my life make comments like, don't you think it's time to wean? And I would just be like, well, when they're ready, you know, and just kind of leave it at that. You know, I didn't really need to get combative about it, but I would just kind of leave it like that. So, hey, Morgan. But yeah, ages 6 through 7, they should be able to gather trash, fold towels, dust, mop floors, empty dishwasher, match clean socks, weed garden, rake leaves, peel potatoes or carrots. Okay. Lana is 6 and she has not done this, so I got to get working on this. Make a salad. Lana has never done this either. And replace toilet paper roll. There you go. Fun fact, we don't even have a toilet paper roll to replace. We just leave the toilet paper on the counter. So once the toilet paper is gone, we just got to put a new toilet paper on the counter. We really need to get that since we remodeled our bathroom. We have not had that. Okay, so ages 8 through 9 should be able to load dishwasher, change light bulbs, wash laundry. Yeah, that's about right, because I just started Allie doing this stuff. She's 10 though. Dust furniture, spray off patio, put groceries away, scramble eggs. Allie just started doing this too, so maybe my kids are like a year behind. Bake cookies. She's never done that. So this is 8 through 9. Walk dogs, sweep porches, and wipe off table. That all seems pretty good with the exception of baked cookies. That's actually kind of difficult. So I'm surprised they put that as 8 and 9. Hey, it's a goal to shoot for. And then ages 10 through 11, clean bathrooms, vacuum rugs, clean countertops, deep clean kitchen. Wow. Prepare a simple meal, mow lawn, bring in mail, do simple mending. Mending is one thing that does not happen in my house. I don't know about you guys. Sweep out garage. Okay. My 10-year-old does not do half of those, so time to get on the ball. And then ages 12 and up, mop floors, change overhead lights, wash, vacuum car, trim hedges, paint walls, shop for groceries with list. And I know this is doable because when I had Lana, let's see, she's 6. So Abby would have been 9. And Abby went shopping. Abby went shopping with my husband at 9 and knew exactly what to get. So that's pretty good. But Abby's almost like my firstborn all over again because she's my oldest girl. Cook complete dinner, bake bread or cake, do simple home repairs. Wow, at 12. Wash windows, iron clothes, and watch younger siblings. So this is a good list to definitely work towards. Like I said, I can scan and email this to you if you would like. But I found another one too that I thought was kind of good. And, you know, it just talks about kids who help out at home or kids who thrive. Research shows that there are benefits to including chores in a child's routine as early as 3. It helps them learn time management, develop organizational skills, accept responsibility in the family, find opportunities for success, learn work and play balance, and set a foundation for independence, which the show is all about, right? So chores should vary by age. You know, they have chores for children 2 through 3, put away toys, put clothes in hamper, wipe up spills, fill pets' food dish. 4 through 5, make their bed, clear the table, unload utensils, empty waste baskets. 6 to 7, sort laundry, help make and pack lunch, sweep floors, set the dinner table. 8 through 9, any of the above chores, plus loading dishwasher, putting away groceries, help make dinner, and put away own laundry. All my kids that age do that. And then chores for children 10 and older, clean bathroom, change and wash bed sheets, cook simple meals with supervision, and wash car. So that's a much shorter list. But yeah, if you want a harder list, this is it. And this one actually came up when I searched 1940 chores list. And it's kind of vintage looking, but it was on, I didn't really look at this website. It was on flandersfamily.info. And I don't know if it was like a family blog or something that it was on. So that is a good one. I can email that to anyone. But so our method in our home is basically, we don't really rotate chores very much. What I do is every kid has their own kind of set area that they do, or their set chores. And I've kind of gone over that before. My boys so much now, they don't help around a house as much anymore because I have an 18 and 17-year-old. My 18-year-old works like a dog at his job. He works super, super tough, super, super hard at his job. So by the time he gets home, he's just exhausted. He works a man's job. And then Jason, he also works as well. So I have them do things like, you know, help get the skunks out of the garbage and take the garbage out and mow the lawn. They both mow the lawn, clean up the yard. You know, that's kind of their avenue. And then Abby, like I've told you before, she is like my right-hand woman. She gets offended if I even try to go in my kitchen. She's completely taken over the kitchen, and she does all the cooking and the cleaning in there. And then Chloe does a lot of my laundry for me, and then she takes care of the schoolroom. She mops it pretty much every day, sweeps and mops it, tries to keep it picked up. Allie does the bathrooms and the living room. And Allie is like obsessive compulsive about keeping her stuff clean, her room and the living room. She keeps it so clean. So she usually vacuums multiple times a day, which in a family like ours, you need to vacuum multiple times a day. And she also cleans the bathroom, because she does quite a bit for being 10. And then Lana, I probably need to have her do more. She's in charge of the hallway and then just spraying walls down. A lot of times I'll have her do. But like Karen was talking about last week, you know, you want to keep trying to bump up the kids to harder things. And then the younger kids, make sure that you're giving them stuff too, so they can feel like they're pulling their weight in the family. So that's a good thing to watch for too. But yeah, that's kind of what our method is. Some other homes do better with rotating chores and things like that, but we kind of do better with the set chores, because then the kids kind of know what to expect and everything. So, but okay, so how do you have independence in school when it comes to your kids? And this is for everyone that has kids school age. First of all, choose the right curriculum for your family. There's going to be some curriculums that you choose that are not going to be raising as independent children as you want. When I think of this, I think of like Bob Jones Academy and Abeka. A lot of times these curriculums you get the videos for, and you have a teacher teaching them, or you are the teacher and you have to teach them. I knew of a homeschool mom that did Abeka or Bob Jones, and she actually stood up in front of them and talked, and she taught them every single week. So that's not really something I can do because I do teach piano. So a lot of times I'm teaching piano while my kids are doing school. So that's not really something that fits with me, with the exception of Lana. She does video school. I just have to make sure her papers are out for it and everything like that. But, you know, independence in school, ACE is an independent curriculum. Obviously, the Robinson curriculum is an independent curriculum. Those are both ones that will help teach your children independence. And I know there's other curriculums out there that are like that. I haven't really checked into them though. I know people have mentioned Sunlight and then Alpha Omega. I think Alpha Omega is a bit like ACE. So, yeah. And like Amber, you're at the point too, it's going to go by age as well. Now, when they're younger, you're going to have to be a little bit more hands-on. You're the one teaching them to read. You're teaching them their letters. You're teaching them their numbers. You know, you're going to have to do a lot at the beginning. But by the time they get to 3rd or 4th grade, they should be leaning towards being a little more independent. And that's when you want to start encouraging them to do things on their own, you know, different things like that. Yeah, Angela, I think that's like the student-led learning based. Yes, because you get a lot of the books and you're reading a lot of books when it comes to like history and science and things like that. So ACE on their own, I would, by the time they're in 2nd or 3rd grade, they should be reading well. So by the time that they're a fluent reader, you can kind of show them. I would always circle the number that they were supposed to go to. And then you might have to help them learn to score on their own at first. But the nice thing about ACE too is that they learn to score on their own. So then that's taking more off of you as well. They have little boxes and then they, you know, mark them off for when they score it. So I would say by the time they're in 2nd, 3rd grade, by the time they're fluent readers, they should be able to sit down, know the pages that they're going to do, you know, and then do them. So, you know, teach them that school is a must. You must do it every day. It's not, well, we might do it today. You know, it's you must. So my kids just know they don't have anything else to expect for that day. So they just know that they're going to have school. And then teach them independence in the morning. You know, have them get dressed, brush their teeth, brush their hair, make their beds, you know, get breakfast. It's kind of, I'm not super great at making breakfast in the mornings. It's kind of a free-for-all, whatever they grab, toast. Sometimes I'll make eggs and we'll all eat eggs. I'm not one that usually makes a big breakfast though. It's usually cereal or granola or yogurt or toast, you know, just a very light breakfast. And then for lunch, we usually break and have a bigger lunch, whether that's homemade soup, you know, and sandwiches or something. Lunch is kind of our bigger one. So teach them to be independent in their schoolwork and be responsible for their time spent doing their subjects. You know, teach them that they have a responsibility. Now with my girls doing the Robinson curriculum, it's kind of nice because they set the timer on their own and then they go and they do all their school on their own. And it's really nice because they know what to expect. They know how long they have to do everything. They set the timer, you know, for their math. They're grading their own math and things like that. So, you know, but obviously the amount of independence varies from age, but try to instill good learning principles from the time that they are young. And this even goes with, I've heard parents ask, you know, well, what about cheating? Isn't it easy to cheat? And it is easy to cheat. It's easy to get away with stuff. But as the parent, you're going to have to realize that it's a character flaw then if they're doing that, and you're going to have to nip that in the bud and figure out the best way to stop that when it comes to, I mean, even with ACE, if they're not scoring correctly, then we considered that with our kids, we considered that cheating. So then, we really have to work on that, because that is definitely a character flaw, and they don't want to carry that into their adult life, because they can't cheat on the job. They're going to get fired. And what if they have a family to provide for? And this is the stuff that we tried to instill in our kids' heads when they were young. We told them it's going to be really easy to cheat, but you know what? God sees, and eventually you will be caught. And eventually we had a couple that tried it. They weren't scoring right the whole book. And so then they would, fail the test. Failing the test is anything under an 80 in ACE. So then we would know automatically, that they weren't doing something correctly. So work, and I think homeschooling too, it really, to the parent, it exhibits a lot of these flaws and things. So really pay attention to those and try to nip them in the bud when you see them come up. But how about teaching them independence in their Christian walk? And this is really important with kids, and this can apply to us as adults as well, right? Even single people, because you're going to have character from an early age, and teach them to have their heart values. It's more than a head knowledge. It's more than just knowing the rules, and it's more than just knowing Bible. It's a heart knowledge. It's putting all that Bible into action. It's putting all that head knowledge into action. And your kids are not always going to be with you. You're not always going to be able to force them to sit around and read their Bible. You're not always going to be able to force them to tell the truth. You have to put these things into their heart from the time that they're in early age. Teach them that they have to learn to be independent when it comes to their walk with Christ. They have to work on it. You can't do that for them. They have to read the Bible. They have to choose to do right. They have to choose to not give into the flesh and into their temper and get angry or get bitter about something. They have to choose to reject the flesh and follow the Spirit and walk in the Spirit. So you really have to teach them that. So Carla asked, what age should you start making them do chores? From the time they're 4 or 5, they should be able to do chores pretty well, pretty regular chores at least. So, but you're always training them. Like I said at the beginning, you're always training them from the time they're 1 or 2 and walking and independent. You're always training your kids. So teach them, model the correct independence for your kids when it comes to your walk in Christ. Show them by example. Show how, let them see you reading the Bible. Let them see you put away anger and malice and evil communication and all that. You have to model that for your kids. They are going to go off your example more than anything. How do you react to situations? How do you react to trying times that come up in your life? Do you just completely cave? Do you get bitter? Do you get angry? Do you go on the war path? How do you react to all these different things that come in your life? Or do you accept it with grace? As a mom, you're the one exhibiting the most grace and the way to be feminine to your daughters. So that's the biggest training ground, is in your actions. So definitely, hey Shara, definitely be aware of that, because they're learning the most just by watching you. Teach them to withstand peer pressure. Okay, teach them that black is black and white is white. Teach them that there is, right things in life and there's wrong things. There's no crossing certain lines. Teach them to have boundaries in their lives, and this boundaries in their lives. And this will all come back to making them, remember, this part is about being independent in their walk with Christ. You want kids to be independent in their walk with Christ. You don't want to have to force them to do everything. And that's where the difference comes in between the heart knowledge and the head knowledge. If you have to still force your kid at 18 to not be lazy, to have character, to respect you, not to mouth off to you, then something went wrong at the beginning. You should be able to, at 18, they should be able to work a job without any supervision from you, at all. They should be able to have a walk with Christ without being prodded into it. They shouldn't have to be forced to come to church, different things like that. So Yeah, I agree, Amanda. You got to have a good friend you can vent to so you can maintain grace in front of the kids. Everyone needs a venting buddy, right? We all need venting buddies in our life. But maybe that's something, have an outlet so that you can control your emotions, have something that's important for you to do. So Lauren said, I found including them in mostly everything when they wanted, they grew to always wanting to help and enjoy working. Now my 6-year-old can bake and clean so well. 6, that's impressive. She's upset if there's no jobs for him. That's cool. That's a good thing. So teach them that standing for what you believe in all the time isn't necessarily easy. And once again, this is by modeling things, If they're going to be independent Christians when they grow up and not have to be spoon-fed constantly, they're going to have to learn to take stands in this world. This world, as you've seen this year, is getting crazier and crazier. 2020, right? It's getting crazy and things are going insane. And it's just, we're on a train going down a hill headed towards explosives at the bottom. That's what I've said about 2020. So as this world gets crazier and we see the end times approaching, more now than ever, we have to raise independent Christian kids. We have to raise kids that are going to stand against the grain. We have to raise kids that are going to stand for their beliefs, even if they're attacked for it. We have to raise kids that are going to be, they're going to know why they believe what they believe. And it's not just a head knowledge, it's a heart knowledge. So, teach them that it's not always easy to stand up for what you believe, but it's always good. It's always good. It's always a better ending. Teach them there are things worth standing for, righteousness and goodness and truth. And I know what on one of my, I don't know if it's Facebook or Twitter or something, I love everything that's good. I love truth. I love righteousness. I love everything that's good. And teach that to your kids. Teach them that that's a good thing. So how do you teach them independence when it comes to being a functioning adult? Teach your boys to work hard from the time they're little. My husband had the boys doing yard work very young. In fact, he wanted them to start mowing earlier, but they weren't. There was like a weight limit on it. He had to wait until they reached that weight limit because they would sit there and it would stop going. It had a certain weight limit to go. So teach your boys to work hard, but also teach your girls to work hard. Don't just be like, don't have this mindset, well, my girl's never going to have a job, so she doesn't know how to work. Well, what do you think it's going to be like when she gets married and start having kids? That's like one of the hardest jobs in the world. So they need to work hard too. But I'm going to, interject in here. Teach them to work hard, but also let them be kids at the same time. Don't expect them at 13 to just act like you all the time and just have the same mindset as you all the time and be serious all the time. You need to have them do their chores, but then let them play. Let them be kids. You only have your childhood once, and then, it's a lot of work. Life is a lot of work. So have them do skillful things with their hands, such as, I know Chloe, she's my artsy one, right? She crochets all the time. She's learning knitting. She, for a long time she was into slime, and that's when she did her slime videos and all that. And then Abby, she's a great cook. Like, she can follow any recipe, and she's pretty much my personal chef, which is amazing. So she knows her way around the kitchen really, really well. But teach them to be skillful. Teach them to, learn how to do things that will help them in life. Encourage them in their music studies. Abby is becoming very proficient with her music. Chloe just started a second instrument. So, that gives them something to work towards, and it gives them a goal, and it gives them, something to do too, so that they don't ever say they're bored. And it's learning to do skillful things like that maybe eventually they can use to teach lessons, or, they can give the gift of music to someone as they get older. So, teach them to do these type of things. Teach them how to interact with adults. Remember, this is all coming to independence when they're an adult. There's so many adults that even socially don't know how to interact with each other. So teach them to look, adults in the eye, to talk to them, how to talk to adults. Teach them to talk to adults. Teach them to speak up and not just mumble or just nod. You know, teach them to interact with adults. It's super important. And they should be able to succeed at a job by the time that they're, I'm going to say 12 or 13. My boys started detasseling when they were like 12. I think 12 was the youngest age. And it was a pain because I had to drop them off at like 4:30 or 5 in the morning. But it was a tough job. But from the time that they were 12 or 13, they were learning how to work hard. And I feel like that is so important. And it was only a few months during the summer, 2 months maybe during the summer. It didn't kill them. They got some money, you know, so everything was good. They actually ended up getting a tax return too, both those years. So jobs like that are really, really good for kids to have. And, you know, they should be able to succeed as they get older. You don't want to have a 17-year-old that can't interact with adults and is incapable of handling instruction on a job. You know, you want them to be able to handle instruction. I think by the time Tommy was 14 or 15, he had proven himself so well during the detasseling that they made him one of the youngest field managers. So he had shown that he was capable of being responsible and following direction and things like that. So he was promoted. He got more money for it. He had a lot more responsibility. And I remember the first year he did it, he was a little overwhelmed at first, but your kids are going to go through uncomfortable situations as they grow and become more independent, and you can't baby them through it. I know as moms we want to, but you have to push them through. You have to encourage them. And he did awesome. And he has been working at Walmart Distribution Center now since he turned 18. And within a few months, he became, you know, he was Associate of the Month. And then the next month, his boss told him that if he could, he would have given it to him 2 months in a row because he is such a hard worker. So, you know, you want them to have that type of personality. You want them to have that type of work ethic when they go into a job where you don't have to worry about them. I can't go to Walmart Distribution Center with him every day, make sure he's working. I can't crack the whip. So you instill that work ethic in them when they're young so that when they are older and adults, they will carry that work ethic into their jobs. So how did I find jobs for them that young? Because it's Illinois and we have detasseling here. So I'm pretty sure, I can't remember, was it 13? It might have been a teenager. It might be 12 in Iowa. I know there's a certain age. I'm pretty sure it was 13 though. I can't remember for sure. I might be wrong on that. But what precautions in work environment would you take when they're 13, 14? I would definitely make sure it was a reputable company that they were with, no scandals or anything involved like that. For my girls, I would not ever let my girls do detasseling. It was a nitty-gritty job. And, you know, it was really tough for me at first when they were so young to be able to, you know, I had to trust that my child training was going to pay off and that they weren't going to get in trouble and they weren't going to goof off and they weren't going to be involved in things that they shouldn't be involved in. Now, I will say when they get a job in the world, they will be subjected to stuff that they have not been in your home, such as foul language, maybe dirty jokes. I train my kids from the time that they were young. If someone is telling a dirty joke, tell them you do not want to hear it. I also train my kids, we don't do foul language around here. I hate swear words. That's just my personal thing. So I taught them from a young age they were not to cuss. They were not ever to pick that up. And if it came down to even just like a mild word, such as crap or something that they were overusing or using excessively, we'd ban that word from our house, just because what kids will take something and they will do it in excess. Okay. Whatever you do, your kids are going to do in excess. So me personally, I don't even use like the mild words like that because I've always just known whatever I do, my kids are going to do more than me. So if you allow the mild cuss words, your kids are going to go the next step and use even worse. You know, so you need to remember that whatever you do, your kids are going to do in excess. So just have that in your mind. And then, yeah, you have to teach them. That's where this whole independence thing comes into with them having a job. You have to teach them that they're going to be around a lot of people who don't have the same beliefs as them. And they might have to take a stand and say, and another thing I taught my boys, you don't ever look when one of your friends are like, hey, come look at this on my phone. You don't look. You don't look at what they're showing you. I don't want you to see it, because a lot of times, people that are kids that are deep into bad things online, like pornography, they want to get other kids involved because then it kind of eases their conscience a little bit. So, yeah, I taught them that's all stuff that you have to think about. And you know your kid more than anyone. So if you have a kid that's sneaky and is always trying to get away with stuff, maybe a job at a young age is not good for him. But if you have an older, more responsible kid, one thing that always helped me was my boys did it together. So they kind of looked out for each other. We only had good experiences with the company that they worked detasseling for. It was like a locally owned company. We got to know the bosses, the one guy that was kind of in charge of them. We got to know him a little bit, and we were comfortable with that. I dropped them off and picked them up every day. Different things like that. But yeah, it all comes down to what you're comfortable with. I would definitely do your research into the job that they're doing. Make sure it is reputable and that it has, no red flags. But you're going to have to teach your kids how to be independent from the time they're young and to stand up to things. You cannot shelter them forever. And I know that now my son is still young and innocent. He's 18, but he's working. He's working a job around grown men. So he's going to hear grown men stuff sometimes. So he has to make it a priority, that he doesn't get curious. He doesn't try looking things up. I've been able to keep my boys pretty relatively innocent for the most part. So I want them to stay that way. I want them to marry pure, and not just pure in body, pure in mind as well. So those are some things that you got to train them from the time that they were very little. So yeah, it's a lot to think about. Now, also look at the environment that you live in. We live in rural country, so we have a lot of farms and we have a lot of farm boys. It's a different work ethic out here. If you live in the city, I don't know why you'd be doing corn in the city, but let's say you live on the outskirts of the city and you're going to have more city kids. It might be a lot different mentality, and they're going to be subjected to a lot more than if you're like in farmland like we are. So that's all something to look at too. I know it's nerve-wracking. I've had so many thoughts where, did I raise them okay? Are they going to be able to stand? But, as you get older, it starts to pay off and you start to reap and you start to see that, okay, they're turning out pretty good. So far, so good. Teach them to succeed at their job. I kind of went over that already. That's super important. And then girls should be able to run a household by their early teens. That's kind of my belief. They should be able to pretty much run a household. And I could leave the house tomorrow and Abby and Chloe would have it continually running. Abby mainly. She's the older one. She cracks the whip. But she'd be able to organize everyone. The kids know what's expected of them with their chores. So it's going to take a lot out of you if you're able to just leave for a day and come back and the house isn't total chaos. So, work on it when they're young, and then you'll be able to reap when they're older. So the goal of raising kids is always to raise functioning adults. If you have to do everything for them, they're never going to learn independence. And I've seen this a lot in my life, through being in church and stuff. I've seen the parents that have coddled. I personally know of 24, 25-year-olds living in their very successful parents' homes in their basement, playing video games all day long at 24, 25. And I knew I did not want that for my kids. I wanted to raise independent kids. I wanted to raise my kids in a way that if I disappeared tomorrow through death, through, an accident, through who knows what, that they would be able to carry on and be independent enough to take care of themselves. That's always been kind of my goal. I didn't want them totally dependent on me, and it's produced good relationships with my kids thus far. being that way. I don't want to micromanage my kids. I don't want to be over their shoulder all the time. I want them to learn to do things on their own and to do it without me having to tell them how to do it. So that's kind of my philosophy raising kids. So now driver's licenses, when it comes to teenagers, I'm all for getting them their license when they turn 16. This is something that, once again, is going to have to be a personal decision, though, because your insurance will skyrocket. Ours has. We're paying almost $500 a month now because we have my husband and I, we were only paying a little over $100 for my husband and I for car insurance. And now that we have a 17 and 18-year-old, we're paying almost $500. But the boys cover their part of their insurance, with money through their jobs. And now Abby is learning to drive. So for girls, I encourage this. I encourage girls to learn how to drive. I think it's good to know how to drive. That way you don't have to be dependent on everyone else for transportation. Plus, I live in rural country, so it's kind of imperative here. If you live in the city, obviously this isn't going to be as big of a deal because you have public transportation. But since I live in rural country, it kind of is a big deal to have a license for girls. They need to know, it's 25 miles to the nearest Walmart for us. So, my girls are going to need to know how to drive and how to get there. So, yeah, I bet, Shara. I'm hoping you can get your license and things and get that worked out. I know it's a pain. That's why I'm trying to do it with my girls when they're young. So, and then Jen said, my parents' rule was we could have our license if we could afford the insurance and gas. And that's good. Now, when it comes to girls, it might be a little trickier because I don't want Abby to have a regular job. I don't really want her around the nonsense that's out there because I've seen the stuff my boys have had to deal with. Luckily, they've been very open in their communication with me when it comes to things in their jobs. And we've dealt with some sticky situations before in their jobs. But it was because they were very open with me about it. And I'm very glad for that. But being through those situations with them, it didn't really involve them. It had to do with their co-workers. But being through that situation with them, it made me realize I don't want my daughter around that. So we might have to fork out a little extra cash with her. But I do want her to learn when she's young because I think the longer you go without doing it, the harder it is. And I know a sweet little old lady who's like 85 and never driven in her life. And she says she regrets not getting it when she was younger. And she said, as I got older, I got scared and I just couldn't do it. So that always kind of stuck with me, which is why I have my girls do it too. So she is 15. She should be able to get her license next year by the time she's April or something. I think comes around. It will be 9 months since she started driver's ed. We have a nice little driver's ed. We know the teacher really well here in town. It's just private. It's private school. And he probably loves us because we have so many kids. And now he's taught 3 of our kids how to drive. So in Illinois, you have to have training. So you have to have a certain amount of hours and all that. So it's like $350 and he does all the training and then they drive with him and another student and all that. So I really like that. It works really, really well for us. So yeah, the driving school, I think that's the way to go. I think it's a great concept. So most people that I've talked to that have been in their 80s, they do regret not having a license. And, and that's always just kind of stayed with me. So, but if you spend a little more time, and show your kids, model to your kids and be a good example to your kids from the time they're young, when it comes to independence, they'll make your life so much easier the older they get. If you teach them to be strong Christians, you won't have to deal with a lot of the junk from rebelliousness. I know I'm blessed when it comes to my kids for the most part because, every kid has issues, but we've not, the day-to-day stuff, we don't really deal with rebellion or them sneaking around, doing stuff behind our back. And we've tried to keep an open line of communication when it comes to every area. And I think that's really helped with them being good kids. My 18-year-old has pretty much never given me a problem in his life. He was ornery when he was little. He was really ornery. But if you train them right, they grow out of that. So, if you teach them to have character, you're not going to have to deal with them ruining their life once they turn 18. So I've seen so many parents, it's like they don't teach their child to be independent when it comes to their Christian walk. And they kind of force their kid to, which, sometimes we're going to have to force our kids to do stuff. Sometimes we're going to have to teach them to sit there and listen to the Bible when they don't feel like it. They're going to have a bad attitude that day or whatever. But if you really instill a love in them for it, and they start doing it on their own, and they really desire to be close to Christ, and it's a heart issue, then that's going to keep them from ruining their life with a lot of the junk as they get older. Because teens are faced with so much nowadays. They're faced with so much online, and there's just so much junk just in this tiny little thing that they can get into. And, you have to teach them self-control in every aspect of life so that when they get one of these, they will have self-control when it comes to that. And so that, once again, that's, you need to monitor their Wi-Fi, monitor their internet, what they're on. But you can have the strictest parental controls in the world on devices, and they're still going to find a way around it if they want to, if it's in their heart. So that's why from the time they're young, it's a heart knowledge more than head knowledge, and everything. So does anyone else have any tips? I'm done early tonight, so, which is fine because my head is pounding. Can you tell? I have heard of Gab Wireless. The reason I like Gab Wireless is actually because of the ads that I've seen. I love that mom that does the ads for it. She is on what is it? Those books, those photo books. She does the photo books, and I watched the photo book commercial with her on it, and it was so hilarious. It made me laugh so hard. I went and I started ordering chat books. That's it. I started ordering the chat books because of that, because she made it so funny. So, no internet or apps, and it looks like a smartphone. Yeah, I've seen the ads for it. And we use it as a home phone. Yeah. And Angeli said, if you feel like you have to hide things from your parents, you will hide things from them and make terrible life choices and mistakes. You really will. And that's why you strive to keep an open line of communication with your kids at all times, that they tell you things, and that, if anything does arise and they're struggling with something, that they know they can come to you, and you're not going to like freak out, hit the roof, but you're going to be able to walk them through it, help them make good decisions. Obviously there's a time when you need to come down harder on them than other times, but it shouldn't be an everyday thing. It should be rare. And I can say with my teens, obviously there's been some times you're going to go through stressful times with your kids, and they're going to be stupid. They're kids, the Bible talks about, foolishness is bound in the heart of a child. And then even as they get older, they're going to do stupid things. They haven't had the life experience that you've had, but it shouldn't be every single day. You should have a pretty peaceful home. Every now and then it's going to come up, but yeah. Well, I'm certainly hoping, Julia, that no one's telling, is that what they're telling kids nowadays? Don't tell your mom and dad. I have seen some ads before where it's talking about vaccinations and how you don't need to tell your parents. You can just go get vaccinated, which is crazy to me. That's just the pro-vax thing that they're pushing. So let me see. Make sure I didn't miss any chat. Angeli, I think you can get paper routes here still, if we even have a paper. I think the Sauk Valley Media actually shut down. We drove by that video that I think it went out of business. I don't think we even have a paper anymore, which is fine because they were super liberal. In the UK, you can have a paper route from a young age. One of my friends had a paper route from the time she was like 10. I remember doing it with her, and it's crazy now when I think back about it, because we would just go all around town, just doing it by ourselves. It's a different world back then. Now you have to be a little more careful. Mrs. P.S., how do you work with others even if they don't like you? We don't get to choose who we work with. That stuff. I have really only worked from the time I got married. I worked at a beauty salon when I was a teenager, and then I got married, And my only job has really been music lessons. But then I did get hired on with the Arts Academy for a few years and did music lessons there. And I always had a super good relationship. I feel like it depends on where you work, because it was very professional where I worked at Woodlawn Arts Academy. And even if there was underlying tension, like, two personalities didn't get along very well, people were just professional and nothing would ever be done about it. So it was just a really good work environment there, though. But it was almost like having your private studio, because you didn't really work around people that much. You went in your room with your student, and taught them there. So that was kind of different. I haven't really had a job where I worked around a ton of people, actually. So you're just going to have to be professional in your job, overlook annoyances, and hope that they overlook annoyances with you, because not everyone clicks and we don't all get along with each other. So just learn to overlook annoyances and try to be professional in your job. So, but all right. So I think that's about it. I'm just 5 minutes early, but I need to go home and take care of this headache. So next week, hopefully, I am going to do one for singles. Thanks, Don. I'm telling you, Don, it's because I started this low carb diet and I haven't had sugar in like 5 days. So plus I'm not sleeping very well at night. Angelique, thanks for joining tonight. I know it's super late there. So hopefully you can join next week when I talk to singles. And if you have any children that are teenagers, teenage girls that are getting ready to be in a few years a single girl in your home, that would be a good one to watch too. Maybe a good one for your girls to watch. So look forward to next week, and we will talk about what to do in your single years. All right. You guys have a great week, and we will see you next week.